then are we able to start over? Good evening, guys. So sorry we're late. We're having some technical difficulties. Listen, guys, let me tell you, I am here to tell you that we as old people do not know what we are doing. So we want you guys, don't chalk it off to our brains, or just know that when you get old, you have some kind of challenges. So again, welcome to Table Talk with Pastor Lynne and friends. Yay! Woo-hoo! We are so excited about being here with you guys. We're so sorry again that we're late, but this is what we want you guys to do. We want you to join in the conversation with us. We've chosen a conversation on today, and our conversation is going to be
label.
No more labels. So sorry. So if you're viewing in on YouTube, we want you to subscribe, share. We want you to press that like button. We want you to also hit that bell so you can be notified whenever we're getting ready to go live. If you are on Facebook, we want to hear from you. We want y'all to talk to us. I'm sorry. That ain't this show. I'm sorry. The next one, okay. We want to hear from you. We want you guys to have a conversation with us as we talk about no more labels. What labels have been put on you? What labels did you grow up believing about yourself? And not only do we want to talk about the labels that people put on us, but we want to talk about what God calls us, right? Like we want you to know, like we want to move away, knowing that God does not call us what the world calls us. So again, I am Pastor Lynne,
Mary Lewis, Monique Murray,
April Almeida.
All right, y'all ready? Let's get it. Let's start it. Let's go. Hey, let's go. Oh, y'all ain't ready for that yet? Okay. All right, it's okay.
That's all we got anyway.
Don't look for no more. Y'all heard me say we all, our God is going to kick in just a second. So, who wants to start the conversation?
Okay, I'm going to start, but I would say this. As we're talking about what labels were stuck on us, I would hope that you guys take a few minutes and think about the labels that were placed on you and comment to us. I hope that you can understand me. I'm getting over COVID, so I have my mask on. Say something if you can't. But the labels that were stuck on me were spoiled, brat. As I got older, it became bougie.
You're kidding. Spoiled? Not you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Some people have said mean. I'm missing one. Hold on. And funny. I'm funny. I think I'm funny anyway.
Okay. I'm glad you clarified.
I
I'm glad you clarified that.
Maybe I put that label on myself.
That's funny. So yeah, you are funny because that's funny. Why? What are some of the labels that you grew up with?
As we were talking about it, as a kid growing up, there were labels: mean, stuck up, toothpick or toothpick legs. As I got older, it was bougie. I think I've been come to think of it. I think I've been called conceited a few times, which I don't know where that came from.
Oh wow!
I'm not conceited, but I think words from my childhood were the worst. And when you hear, and it was not from my parents, it was just from others, men saying, you're just dumb, or, or hearing, that, oh gosh, dumb and stupid, that sticks with a child, or ugly. That ugly girl over there, labels like that, but like I said, I don't mind being called bougie if that's how you see it. It took work building up my confidence.
Yeah.
And that's hard, when you come up with those type of labels, you have to build up that confidence. And so a lot of times, like Lynne was saying, what does God think of us? That's all that matters. I had to learn that for myself. I had to teach myself.
Uh-huh.
That's your opinion, but that is not how God sees it.
That's not how God sees us. And I think it's hard for us to roll away from that when you heard negative things about you all the time. I used to hear all the time that I had a chip on my shoulder. That was unapproachable. I was mean. I was a bully. I was bossy. My mom would probably try to tell you I was bossy, but don't listen to her because she don't know what she's talking about. Because I wasn't bossy. I just had leadership skills. That's all. And I was able to just tell people what they need to do because I knew how to lead people, even at a young age. So even if I was leading them to do something wrong.
And look, leadership and being straightforward to me, I mean, that's pretty much the only way to be. I don't mind being, it's better for me to be straightforward and to go to the source. Just like if I'm talking to you, I'm looking you in your eyes. I don't mind if I'm being called, oh, you're just bossy. If I hear that at work, yes, I'm straightforward. That's exactly how I am. So if that's what you call bossy, okay.
Well, then it's just bossy.
It's
Because
just
I
bossy.
am who I am. just in case you didn't know, I am who I am. So.
When I was younger, I would say that I got teased a lot. Fat, about my appearance, my lips. I used to get teased a lot. Lips are too big, that kind of thing. Talk too much, and I ask too many questions, which I have to agree with those two. I do talk a lot, and I do ask a lot of questions.
Not you.
I know.
It's called getting information.
But I would say that, when you're a child, it's hard to really process that and know what to do with it.
Right.
And it does stick with you. Look at I'm 50 years old and I'm still remembering things that were said to me, in elementary school.
We're still developing as kids, so that sticks with us. It's always in the back of our mind, Remember, have you ever been asked, or your parents say, you should ask a lot of questions, or why do you ask so many questions?
Oh, yeah.
I used to get that so many times, because I want to know.
Remember, a kid was supposed to be
Seen and not heard.
Not heard.
Yeah.
Can you understand? Listen, I wish that they would get rid of that phrase out of everybody's mouth, because I think it really does teach our children how to not talk. And that's not good. I want to know, I never allowed my kids, they weren't allowed to call each other names because I was called names so much. And when we was coming up, that was cracking on somebody was a thing to do, right? So they always had a mama joke. They always used to call me Chiquita Banana, little yellow girl, red bone. And to this day, I hate that word, red bone. I hate that. I ain't a red bone on me. I know, right? It does. It does. But what's so funny?
It sounds derogatory.
No, I'm trying to figure out why your friend is laughing.
Oh, Jesus, help me.
See,
It's okay, she brought it up.
See, this what I'm talking about. This what I'm talking about right here. This what I'm talking about. This why we came this way. That's why. Friends will do you dirty all the time. As I got older though, in school, I had responded to the labels that I was called. I think by the time I got in junior high and high school, I really did have a chip on my shoulder. I think I really did begin to believe the things that people were saying about me. Those negative things became my narrative, and it became my reality, right? So I started living out those things. I don't know about y'all, but you start telling me I was mean all the time and mad and always, they used to just say I was just like just this mean little bully, and I really wasn't. If you didn't mess with me, then I didn't bother you. But if you bothered me, it was,
I think that's how we all were, though. It's just that, hey, I'm to myself, I'm cool as long as you cross that line.
As long as you
As
don't
long
cross
as you
that
leave me
line.
alone,
Yeah,
I'll leave you alone.
yeah, yeah.
You know, when you're coming up and you're bullied and stuff, look, don't mess with me.
See, no, I was actually different though there.
Were
Is
you?
that- yes, when I was younger, I didn't fight back. I never said anything. I just would stay away. And I think, for me, that probably wasn't the best answer. Because you feel like you're just kind of giving into it. You know, I mean, you should to a certain degree stick up for yourself.
But I would do that.
Yeah, you know, but I think when you're younger, you don't know really how to navigate through that.
Yeah.
And you think you're still trying to process it. As kids, you're still trying to process, okay,
Yeah,
what's
I
happening
understand.
here?
Yeah.
Why are they messing
Yeah.
with me?
Yeah, why? What's
Why
the,
are we being called these names? Why are you placing that label on me? Of course, kids aren't saying, why are you putting that label on me? They're saying, well, why are you saying that? You know, like my
Why are you
grandsons.
being mean?
Yeah, my grandsons, you know, they'll sit and they'll be like, why did you say that? It's just that look on their face, you know, they're trying to process, okay, why is this happening? Why are you talking like that to me? Why did you say that?
I
It's that
remember,
process because and it sticks with them, you know.
I remember sitting there thinking, why do I have to be so different?
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't I as pretty as them or as thin as them? And that's stemming from comments that people had said, therefore making me feel like I wasn't enough. You know, and still to this day, it affects me. But I'm 60 and just saying, I'm gonna stop worrying about what everybody thinks.
that's one thing, you know, about aging. You really, you get to that point
Yeah.
where you are, you know, you are who you are, you accept it,
Yeah.
and you obviously have found a way to process all of that, and you don't, you know, but I believe that those words, you know, mental or any type of emotional abuse, that can do some serious damage. You know, I obviously don't believe in any type of physical violence, and having friends that have gone through that for a very long time, I could never understand why do you not believe why. Then when you go kind of, you know, mental abuse label or somebody telling you you're not good enough, you kind of start to understand, you know, that person was being physically abused.
Yeah.
That person's still saying, I love you, don't I need you.
Absolutely.
Right, so
Absolutely.
they stay because but that person still loves me, you know, for some reason, and those cuts and those bruises healed a lot faster, where mental doesn't.
Mental and emotional.
And I think because you grow up thinking that that's what you deserve, right? Because you've been told that you're not worth anything, right? So you've been told that you're ugly. You've been told that nobody wants you. And then you get in these situations where you have, and even some men, right? You get in these relationships where they are reaffirming what you have learned about yourself all these years. And I think that's the sad thing, is being able to change that narrative about who you are, who the world says you are. I became a fighter. I mean, they was telling me that's what I was doing anyway. I remember they used to say I was bad, I was a fast little heifer. You know, you just start living up to these things, and then you wonder why your life is spinning out of control. Well, we've been responding to what people have been calling us. Now I'm just at a place in my life, listen, I'm almost 60. Call me what you will, okay? Because I know who I am. I had a conversation with somebody on yesterday, the day before yesterday, and that was one of the things we were talking about, is stop responding to what the world says that you are. Like, stop giving it your life. Like, start killing it by not responding to it. You start speaking over who you know you are. Listen, I am fearfully one of female. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a child of the Most High God. You just say.
What was it for you though that you stopped listening to the labels or you stopped responding to that? And how long did it take?
It was a process. It took a while. It took a long time. And I think it was in my 50s that I started getting to this place of just saying, you know what? And let me just say this, because I don't want you to even think for a moment that the struggle don't come back, because the struggle is real. But I find myself sometimes still going to that place of body shaming. We talked about body shaming, right? I still go to that place sometimes of having to get out of my head and just speak against those negative thoughts. Like, I'm not bossy, I'm a leader. And the thing is, that it's so funny because coming up as a kid in our community, we could be bossy and it was a negative thing, but our counterparts could be bossy and it was a positive thing. And so I grew up thinking leadership was negative. It was negative. And so instead of leading people good in a good way, I started leading people in a negative way. Like, I'm bad anyway, so I might as well. Y'all don't understand. I grew up, I figured if I was gonna go to hell, I was going with some gasoline drawers. Y'all just don't get it. Y'all just don't get it. I ain't playing, I ain't lying. If I was gonna do it, I was gonna do it big. I wasn't gonna do it small. But when I did come to myself and I did begin to start realizing, and I think it was because I started leading other people. And as I started having to help them see themselves differently, I had to start investing in helping myself see myself differently, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense, because that was gonna be my question. By being that leader, let's say like even in the workplace, you know, when you get in that position where, okay, you have this team under you, you have to lead these people, then you turn around, or even in church, you know, in Sunday school, working with the youth or young adults, you know, you're sitting there and you're speaking to them about how it should be, about what God says and everything. But how many of us turn around and look at ourselves and examine ourselves?
I don't know that many of us do.
I don't think so, because, you know, we walk out the church doors, they sit in the church, you know, they praise and raising their hands, walk out the church doors, before they get to the car, they cussing somebody out, you know? And so, you know,
she said, I'm just gonna go for the juggler.
It happens. We're keeping it real. This is real talk, but it happens, and I've heard it. And so, when I see something like that, I was like, man, you know, I'm not gonna judge them. I'm gonna let God judge. They have to answer to God for that.
Yeah.
You just stepped off the whole ground. You got to answer to God for that.
But you have to kind of stop and wonder why that's happening.
Exactly.
You know, why is it happening in the church?
It happens.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I realize it happens, but why? Why
I
is
think
this
it
happening?
It's a lack of growth.
Yeah. But I think it happens in the church no differently than it happens
Anywhere else.
Right. People in the church are fallible people. They're people who make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? They're human.
We've all come
And
from
we don't know
somewhere.
what they're going through that happened at the point
Right.
where they're saying those type of things.
Yeah. But I
we
think
can't make it okay.
No.
You know, you can't, I mean.
We can't be passive with it.
Right.
We cannot be passive with it. And me being an upfront person, I'm like, I know I did just not hear this come out of your mouth. Come on now. But on the flip side, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna judge, I'm not gonna say anything, you know. But you brought up something as you get older in life about these labels, and you learn to just, because I think I was, you know, you guys heard what I went through, you know, the mental abuse can be way worse than the physical.
Yes.
Yeah.
That mental
I
abuse
agree with
can burn a hole, not just through your heart, but through your mind.
I agree with that.
And it can be more damaging
Paralyzing.
and harder to come out of and to pull yourself up from. And mental abuse is a form of label. You know, because you're being called those names, you're being labeled terrible mom, stupid, dumb, you're being labeled, you know, and that's mental abuse. It's not just with us as adults, but it is mental abuse that as a child, you know.
It is. I was thinking my first marriage. I think we both had a very. I think we both had dangerous tongues. You know, we just to get back at each other, like we would say stuff and not realizing how it was going to affect us later. And
Yeah.
not even that, but what did our kids hear us saying? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, what
Exactly.
did our kids hear me call their daddy out their name, out of his name? You know, did they hear him? And so we don't think about those things when we're speaking labels over people's lives. These things affect people for the rest of their life
Right.
until they get to a place where they're strong enough to turn that thing around. I think for me, I really have been blessed because I've always had a Monique on my side. Like there are times when I would be trying to go into my head and trying to internalize what I thought people were saying, because remember, these are labels that was from when I was a kid. So when I got older, I thought people still thought that way about me, right? These people that went on about their life. I don't even know where these kids are anymore. So they've grown and went on. But in my mind, I really had believed that the people who I was encountering today had those same thought processes about me. And it would take like a Monique to say, you know, that's not who you are. Stop telling yourself that. And I remember I went through a real bad period. I don't know what was wrong with me. I just went through a real bad period where I just did not think very well of myself. And Pastor Khadijah, one of the associate pastors in New Creation, she would just call me out of the blue. And just, I mean, not that she didn't call me all the time, but she would just call like at an unexpected time, right? At that right time. And she would just say something that she wouldn't even know that I was struggling with at that time. And I'd be like, oh my God, I was just going through this. This is what I was going through. But it was those type of moments, those moments that weren't playful were happening to me. How so
It was a trouble to go outside and play.
But you're not getting that from your family.
I
You're
didn't.
getting
It
that,
wasn't
you're
from
getting
your
that.
Another label that came was people thinking because I had that kind of life that I had an experience.
Comes in.
You know, but you have no idea what I've been through. Talk to you about it. But the reality is, at 40 years old, lay hands on me and pray for boldness in order for me to start speaking out. Because I was in such an insecure place that it had just taken over my world, and I wouldn't say anything back to anybody. I wouldn't speak up. They probably regretted it afterwards. Because when I say God blessed me, and I began to speak up and speak out and say,
You don't hold nothing back now.
But like Lynn said, insecurities are still there. They just don't rule my world.
Yeah.
But when I'm in a fight or in a struggle with anything, they'll creep up. So it is a constant thing. And I struggles with the labels, whether it be insecure or whatever, just keep reminding yourself that you are a child of God and God doesn't make mistakes. So let anybody take you down. They're not worth it.
True, because I'm telling you, y'all think she playing.
Yeah.
She asked for boldness. We had a prayer shut in, and we prayed that whole night. We was praying about God to give us some boldness. Child, what was we thinking? Because we should have thought different. We should have sat and thought about that first. Because she been bossy, you understand?
Okay, so that's another label. So let me say this. In my family, I am thought to be the bossy one. And with some things that have been going on lately, it's made me really sit and think. And it's like, you know what? It's not that I'm the bossy one. It's that I am the baby, and I have been left to take control of everything. So I stood up and I did what I thought was best, whether it was right or wrong. I did it because something had to get done. So if that makes me bossy, then I'm bossy.
Is it that you were the baby, or is it that you were the older girl? Because most of the times it's not on the baby, it's mostly the middle child.
But I'm the baby and only girl.
I'm where she's at. I'm the baby of the family. So what she experienced, what she's talking about, is experience with my father.
The fan is just traveling.
Right.
Y'all, that's old folks who've been involved.
It's just, it's the having to be that one to step up and do what needs to be done.
Well, that's how I
And to
see
me,
it.
that's not bossy.
I
To me,
think
that's saying, you know what, I can't let this sit. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it needs to get
You
done.
know, and if I
So,
see it,
and
it needs to get
responsibility.
done.
You're
You
just being
know,
responsible.
place a label on me if you want. But it's not, to me, it's not being bossy. It's being, like you said, responsible. It's to most, it's actually being helpful because look, nobody else is stepping up. So to me, that's not, don't place a label. I mean, okay, if you want to call me bossy, okay. However, it's not going to stop me from trying to get things done.
Yeah. Well, I think too, I think it depends now. Now, there are some times where you are just being responsible. But then there are times when bossy comes in. And I know when she's being responsible, and I know when you're being responsible, and I also know when you're being bossy. Like, why y'all trying to play like y'all ain't never been bossy? That's
I'm
like
not
me
trying to
sitting up
play.
here trying to say I don't be bossy.
I'm not trying to play innocent. April seen the other side. You only see the other side.
And she can be like she ain't
Like
bossy.
she's
I
innocent.
know she's
But
bossy.
the way you guys are explaining it, I actually, I'm, in comparison to you guys, I am not the bossy one.
Oh, but you are.
Oh,
Oh, but you are.
not.
yes.
I just kind of go with whatever.
No,
You guys
April
want.
gets the line in her
That sounds good
forehead.
though. That does. That sounds really
You
good.
get
I'm
the
gonna
line
use that
in your
line.
forehead.
I probably need some Botox or something.
You get the line, and I know when I hear the questions coming, I sit back and I said, "Oh, no, that's her start."
Because really, let me tell you, she already has an answer. She's trying to figure out how you got to yours.
Right,
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Or she
there's
already
nothing-
has the
there's
answer.
nothing
She
wrong with
just
that.
wants to see what you're going to say.
Yeah, and there's nothing
I
wrong with that.
respond.
There's
Sometimes
absolutely
it's
nothing
right.
wrong with that.
And let me tell you the wrong part of it. She's like, basically, how the hell did you come to that when it's really this over here?
That's what it is. The work side.
Right.
That's the work
Right.
side.
I
Yeah,
think,
I can do that.
I think when as you get older, it's good that we can laugh about this kind of stuff now.
Yeah, right,
Because
right.
when I was younger, I couldn't laugh about it. It wasn't funny to me.
Yeah, and I was gonna say something along those lines as that, these labels that started when we were younger, and they bothered me back then, and I couldn't understand. I was taught not to be mean to other people, so I didn't do that. I could look back and those labels, those comments no longer bother me, and then now as an adult, when somebody tries to label me, I process it. I actually want to think about it first because there may be some truth to that label, or it could be, well, let me explain to you why it appears this way, and then there's that open conversation,
Right.
to where you may it could be a misunderstanding, and then in all honesty, sometimes it just is what it is, and you just
And I
are
don't think
that.
that's labeling, I think, I don't know
For
that
somebody
I would
else.
call it as labeling.
Yeah.
I can see that, but I'm not succumbing to anybody's labels. Because the reality is I am who I am. And there may be something that I say or do that you may observe that has some truth to it, and I'm okay with that. But don't attach it to a label. And I think that's my thing right now. The book I'm writing, one of my chapters, is talking about no more labels. Like as you are trying to heal, you have to take off the stuff that will stay stuck forever. And I don't want to be stuck. I'm not willing to be stuck to make somebody feel good about their perception of me.
But you know what? It's not always somebody else's label.
I put them on myself.
Right, yeah. We need to stop putting labels on ourselves.
You have to stop being so hard on
Right.
yourself.
Like, it is about learning to love who you are, where you are.
Okay, so with that being said, us here, those out there watching, you're hearing what we're saying. So it still comes back to my mind as far as raising that child. What kind of labels are you placing on that child? Because we know how we feel when we're an adult and we're talking about it and we're thinking back, we're like, wow, why did they say that about me?
Yeah.
Why was I called that? But as a child, with us as parents, we raise a child in the way that they should go, right? And so still, that to me, that's a part of that, what raising a child in. If you're sitting there, you calling your child or saying to your child, "Oh, you're just stupid." Guess what? That's that dig right there. That's gonna start.
Yeah, that's
So-
what they're gonna aspire to be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's and that's gonna be what my mama. And guess what? They're gonna go to school and they're gonna say, "Well, my mama said this about me, or my mom or dad. When they call me this, and that's just how I am." Or, well, guess what? Somebody's gonna say, "Well, why would they say that?" Okay, so parents, or as just anybody, what happened to that? The community. Helping to raise the village, helping to raise these children and in more of a positive direction without all those labels. And I know sometimes, we as adults, parents, grandparents, we're sitting there like, what our child, our grandkids do that, and we're just wondering, what were they thinking? To me, that's not a label.
Yeah.
You're just asking yourself, like, what were they thinking? Why would they do that? But you don't have to go as far as to call that child or say to that child, "Oh, you're
Yeah,
just
you don't have
stupid."
to call them out their
Or
name.
you don't have to
You
call
don't
them
have
out
to
their
do all that.
name.
Don't do that.
Don't put in that child's head, because that's the start of their life. Their brain is still growing. They're still processing.
No, but here's the problem. You got babies
Raising babies.
Right.
So we're in the
Right.
stores cussing out our
Cussing,
kids,
yeah.
Oh, that
calling
drives me
them
insane.
all kind of names.
Right.
Seriously? Because if somebody else had said it, you'd be ready to fight.
Ready to fight.
But because it's your child, it gives you the right to cuss them out, degrade them. Come on, let's do better than that, y'all.
And I have been in the grocery store. I'm just gonna say it. Winco, notorious. You go into a
Never
Winco
call the
store.
store out though.
So you go into the grocery store and you could be standing in line and you're hearing us out. And I'm just gonna be straight. I've seen it so many times. I think this one day I was just fed up. And I just looked over and I looked at it, I looked at that girl and I said, don't say that to that child. And she just stopped, her eyes got this big. And the child just turned around, his poor little eyes just swelled up, he just started crying. And I think right there, because anybody else probably would snap and want to cuss me out. But it ate at me because I heard her all the way through the store, every aisle I went down. It's like I always ran into these one particular girl with this child just crying, and we finally got her to checkout, standing in line and snatching him and quit being so stupid. And I just had to say something. I said, please don't say that to that child.
But I think that's part of the problem. I think part of the problem is, first of all, let's just be honest. We have grandmothers our age, right?
Mhm.
That started off very young at being grandmothers. When we were coming up, our grandparents were of age, right? So you have
elders.
Adults raising these young adults, barely adults raising these young adults, and these young adults trying to raise babies.
Right.
There's a disconnect. And I think we have grown so accustomed to not saying anything. Like we have purposely, intentionally stepped out of the role of our grandparents because we don't want to be labeled
Mhm.
that mama always in your business, or we don't want the label. But the reality is these young people won't know how to talk to their kids if we don't step up and teach them.
But I don't even know that it's that label. It's these days, these people to say something to them, they don't try to cuss you out. They're not gonna fight. So
They're ready to fight.
But there was a time though, there was a time where grandparents or just seniors didn't care. They didn't care how you were going to respond. Everybody that my grandparents checked did not respond in the way that they should have responded. But it didn't keep them from saying that
Right.
thing that you're doing right there is not good
It's
for
not
you.
good. Right.
And I think we've lost that.
Yeah.
We've gotten,
Nobody says anything. We're like,
we
we don't want to
just-
get involved.
we're afraid that
Yeah,
the children aren't gonna like, so what, don't like me. But
Yeah.
you gonna love me in the end when your child grows up with some self-esteem, because I stepped in and said, stop calling him a little MF. Stop telling him he acting like his daddy,
and maybe he's acting like that because you're acting like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Reciprocating what he writes, right? He's
doing
acting
what
out
he
what he sees.
Yeah.
We were in the store one day. I don't really hear everybody calling our names. We was in Walmart because you can find and see everything in Walmart. If you ever want to see a show, go to Walmart, right? But we had gone to Walmart, and we had gone to, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna say it. We had gone to a Walmart in a white community. And when we walked in, this black girl, her boyfriend, and their little boy, they were letting him take, and this was at the height of COVID, right? They were, he was walking around, he kept hitting all of the sanitation bottles, and they thought it was funny, and sanitation stuff just going all over. And I don't think me and Mo, I think we had a race to go and say something to this girl, but we was like, honey, don't let him do that. Do you know, you're teaching him right now to be destructive. And then you bring them into this community where they're already afraid of him, and you have them doing something like this. What do you think is going to happen to this kid? So we was like, baby, don't let him do that. I mean, and throughout everywhere we went in the store, she was letting this kid tear up something in the aisle.
What was
Honey,
your
don't
response when you said something?
She would move. She would take him and then go someplace else. She didn't say anything smart back to us, but my point was she didn't listen because I think it was new to her. But my point was, is if we had not said something, whether she took him to an aisle and let him do it when she thought nobody else was seeing it from allowing him to do those actions, right? And I would started thinking about something, because I'm telling you, all that girl went in, we just happened to be there. Like, honey, you have to think about not just what you're teaching them, but think about the consequences. And stop. It's not cute, because somebody's gonna fall and hurt them. And when I tell you, this kid had almost half a bottle of that big sanitizer all on the floor. Like, I'm like, Mo was telling her, getting her, I'm trying to get somebody to come over and clean it up, because we don't want nobody to hurt themselves. Baby, do you know if somebody slipped and falls, you know who they're gonna blame? Because they watching you let your son do it.
Right.
You want something. And I'm just like, this young lady, but it really came to me, she hasn't had anybody. It was very apparent that there was no one who had been a role model for her. There was no one who had told her that this is not okay, this is not cute. You can't take them out in public and do stuff like that, because there are consequences to how we act. And then we wonder why they act a fool when they get teenagers. Well,
Wait, you wonder why you don't have a babysitter.
well, that too. That too, because nobody.
But you think she went
maybe
on
she is.
I feel like
Yeah.
from you saying something, that planted that seed in her mind. So when she got home, she probably thought about, I would pray that that happened. When she got home, she thought twice about
I really hope it did.
how she let the child act and tell the story. You know, maybe she thought twice about, okay, what it's not cool.
It's
No.
not. It's not
not
cool.
right.
The bottom line is, just because they have labeled us,
We have to succumb to that. There we go. There we go.
show them wrong.
Prove them wrong. Be who God says. You are the child of the Most High God.
It doesn't make you a punk.
It don't make listen. I'd rather be a than be a punk in the grave, all right? Because I wasn't doing the right thing. So teach calling your kids out their names. Like that's just not, you gave them a name for a reason. That's why I tell my kids all, I used to tell them all the time. And I still tell them, you have a name for a reason. I gave you that name because that's what I wanted you to be called. I didn't want you to be called all those other things.
Right.
So stop calling each other names. Stop calling your kids out of their name. Start raising up your children the way you want your children to become as adults. If you want them to be productive adults, then you don't need to start speaking some productive stuff over their lives. Right? Stop telling them they ain't gonna be nobody. How do you feel when somebody tell you you won't go be nobody?
In most
Okay.
cases, though, the mom or the dad that is doing that, they weren't taught. So it's a
They weren't
cycle.
taught.
Yeah.
And
It
Where
is
the
a
village
cycle.
comes in.
And absolutely,
and
but we
where do you
don't
break
have
the
the
chain?
village anymore. Where's the village
And I think
at?
that's part of the message.
Where do you break that? Where do you break that chain there? You
But I
know,
think that they need to
Don't-
understand the long-term consequences,
Right.
right? That this is a form of mental abuse. This is a form of you're labeling your child at a young age. And so they're gonna start behaving in a certain way if you're not careful.
that's one of my pet peeves. Shelley just hit. Hearing someone say you're never gonna be anything. That's a label. That is such a harsh label that and hearing it as you cannot, once that child grows up and you've said that to that child their whole life, they've heard it, you're never gonna be nothing. I don't know why you're doing this. Guess what? Don't complain. Don't start complaining about why you're doing this as an adult. When they're all grown up, don't complain about how they are,
Well, they're gonna
because you
complain,
already
so be
labeled
shocked.
them and put it in their mind that they're never gonna be anybody. Now, there are those that they will grow up and they say, you know what? Obviously, you don't know what you're talking about because I am somebody.
Yeah.
You have placed the wrong label on the wrong child.
Mhm.
I am somebody. So if being somebody means not being around you, then guess what? I don't need to be around you. Peace.
There it is. When I was in junior high, my drill team, she was our drill team, and she was also our PE teacher, told me that I was either going to be in jail or dead. And that is the message. And that's what she said, spoke over my life. And I remember being afraid to tell my parents what she had said because I had gotten kicked off of the drill team. Because she was saying that I was leading people the wrong way because the girls were listening to me. They were doing what I do, but I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't. Now, I might ask you to one, two. I'm like, it was a lot like April. I asked one too many questions. Question by the little black girl, but she put me off the drill team because she said that I was leading the girls wrong, and if I didn't get my attitude together, if I didn't get the or in jail. And I remember that coming up. I remember that coming up as a kid because it marked a point in my life, right, where I began to think, wow, well, maybe I'm not going to be somebody, right? Maybe I am that statistic, right? And it took me a long time to get that out of my head. And I was afraid to say something to my parents because I couldn't tell them that I got kicked off the drill team because she said I was leading people the wrong way. I didn't realize until I got grown with grandkids of my own that what she said was not valid.
Right.
It was not real. It was not my reality. And no matter what she said, my mom always told me who I was going to be.
Right.
You know, my grandmother and my grandfather always told me who I was going to be. And I think had it not been for them, that statement would have really, don't get me wrong, I did go down some paths, but that statement, when people who we are entrusting to our children are speaking negative over our children, we as parents, grandparents, we as the village, positive lives. One of the things I love about my second to the youngest with her daughter, she gives her affirmations to say every single day. So I don't care what nobody says about you. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're loved, you're gonna be somebody, you are successful. And I'm just like, you know what? That is what we need to do with our children. Get up in the morning and start their days. Those are the labels that they need. Yes. Get up in the morning and start these babies off with some positive stuff.
Right, it's changing.
Right.
Yes, yes. Getting rid of all of that.
How
negative.
you get up is how your day. So if you get your child up with that positive, even us as adults, we get up with that positive saying, okay, I'm waking up, negative, be gone. Then your day goes better. You have a better attitude. You can walk into the office and somebody, guess what?
That's on you.
But that is something, you're right. That's something we have to start changing how our day is going to be. What are we going to succumb to? Are you going to be what the world says you're going to be? Who God says you're going to be? And we have a responsibility as now the reality is we are the seniors, right? That's the reality. We are the seniors. And so now what do we as seniors, what is our responsibility? We have to start speaking life over these kids. Not just these kids, but even some of these adults who are stuck in those labels, who have not been able to start casting and pulling off those labels. We have to start speaking life into their lives. Teaching them, like, we have to become more proactive. And I think until we, as our generation, and even those are our parents' generations, who they're old and tired now, right? So it's us now. It's us now. We've got to start speaking life into these children. I don't know if you all have suffered from labels, but we are here to tell you, you are not who the world says you are. You are who God says you are. And if you've been struggling and you are constantly get rid of what people have spoken over your life, we want you to know that we are praying for you.
We are part of your village.
We are part of your village.
Yes.
We are here
Yes.
for you. We will speak life over you. We speak victory over your life. You are prosperous. You are you are beautiful.
Beautiful.
You are fearful. You are great. You are going to be the greatest you that God created you to be. So if you
Amen.
didn't get anything else from what we're saying, you do not be what people call you. You be who God told you you are. And if you are a child of the Most High God, then you are somebody. Because you know what? If you are His child, you already made it, right? And I want you to start speaking positive affirmations over your life.
And over your children.
And
over your children, your community,
Yes.
Yeah.
and your church. I want you to start speaking life and know that you can be somebody totally different than what the world's labels, it's just the world's labels. It's just the world's
Don't let
labels.
them define you.
Don't let
Don't
them
give the
define
world
you.
that credit.
That's
Don't-
right.
Don't give them that power over you.
That's right. Well, guys, we are out of time, but we thank you guys for being with us today. We had, and just bear with us as we're working on this technology stuff. Listen, we about to show y'all, we gonna get this together, okay? Y'all stick with us. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. And remember, you are who God says you are. What y'all say? Hey guys, you guys
Have a good
stay in.
evening.
Please continue to put your comments in. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what subjects you would like us to talk about. And know that you are loved. You guys be blessed, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.